Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Spooky Film Seizure. It's Spooky Month here at Film Seizure. We continue our Dan O'Bannon business. This time around, we're talking about the 1981 American horror film directed by Gary Sherman, Dead and Buried.
Dead
With me, as always,
buried.
Chuck Moore. How's it going, Chuck?
It's going good. I thought you were going to say welcome to Potters Bluff instead of welcome to Film Seizure at the start. I just slurred my word. I don't know why, but welcome to Potters Bluff.
Yes. Taking pictures of people's faces. Jason Oliver, how's it going?
Welcome to week 2 of Spooky Month.
Ooh, spooky month. Melody Anderson even does spooky hands to her class when she's talking about spooky stuff in this movie.
We do. Yeah, she does. That's pretty good.
I'm so mad at myself. I watched this whole movie trying to figure out who Melody Anderson was.
Oh,
I was
my God,
she's in The Flash. What is wrong with
Dale
me?
Arden. This is her follow-up.
I kept putting her in. Yes, it is her follow-up because I finally realized it, and I do this often when I watch movies. Like sometimes I recognize people immediately, but I cannot place them. Every time I tried to put her in the headdress and everything from Flash, she ended up in Big Trouble in Little China, and I'm like, that's not right.
No, that's Gordon. Flash Gordon. You kept saying
Yes.
Flash.
Flash Gordon.
Make sure for our listeners they understand it's Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon. I just call that Flash. Sorry.
Well, you don't know her from
that's the name of the song.
Chuck Norris classic.
Oh my
Firewalker.
God. That movie, Firewalker, is great.
Jeff, I love you, but we only have 1.5 hours to do this episode.
Yeah, here we go. All right. So, yeah. Right on. I mean, I'm getting the space lap dance from Ornella Moody, but that's okay. Anyway, where was I at? Yeah, so Dead and Buried. This is, Jack Albertson, James Ferrantino, Melody Anderson. This movie, I want to say I saw for the first time. This is probably a Bizarre TV movie. And then I went out, got it on DVD, and I then covered it at B Movie Enema. And then I think I was like, Jason, watch this movie.
Yeah, and I watched it and I liked it.
You sure did.
And they won the game.
And they won the game.
And then Joe Bob covered it, right?
And then Joe Bob did it
last season.
2021.
2021. Okay. So yeah, a couple of years now. So Chuck, was that the first time you saw it, was with Joe Bob?
So this is funny. I had to piece this together last night too, because I got halfway through this movie when the family was going into the house, and I was like, wait a minute, I've seen this before.
Yeah.
I think that Joe Bob night I got home late from somewhere and only caught the second half of it.
Okay.
Because it aired with Mandy
movie too, I think.
It aired with Mandy, and I did not watch Mandy.
Okay.
On Joe Bob.
Yeah.
So I was able to piece together. I think I jumped in the middle. So I was like, this is all so familiar. It was really weird watching it. And then that scene hit. And I'm like, wait, I have seen this, but yeah.
Well, I partook in some extracurricular imbibing during Mandy during that double feature. So I don't really remember the Joe Bob segments of
now
of his hosting
I specifically
very well.
remembered what Jason did. He hunted down some people who were like these demon things, and then like fucking did like Satan cocaine
and like drank some weird like liquid that they had stored in their house.
Yeah. And then he was a madman the whole night. I remember that night well.
But I don't really. I'd like to go back actually and listen to the Joe Bob segments, because I'm sure he had some good tidbits.
I would now too. And
but
so
now this would have been in the first like full watch for you then, start to finish. Okay,
yes,
got it. Cool.
And I will say I like it, but I'm also very annoyed by it, and I'll tell you later why.
Okay. No. This is a movie that I think. I mean, just a few weeks ago we did Messiah of Evil, right?
Yeah.
And that movie is all about the. That movie is all about the atmosphere for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this movie is very similar to that concept. Small town, coastal town, weirdo citizens, and just a ton of the right mood. That doesn't mean that this is a perfect movie. So Chuck, I do feel you that, I certainly asked a lot of questions about this movie too, because it was like, how does any of this work? But that's okay. That's okay. I'm okay. Atmosphere will smooth over a lot of stuff.
You want to talk about atmosphere though, because this movie is like I don't even know how to describe this. It's like a 70s movie brought to you from the 50s by way of the 80s.
Yeah. I also get a lot of, we'll come back to that here in just a moment. I also get a lot of, like Salem's Lot, another one we've covered.
Yeah.
This has a little bit of a Salem's Lot feel to it too.
There is a vampiric kind
Sort
of
of,
Salem's Lot feel to it.
Well, there's certainly a satanic kind of control over people, if that makes sense. I mean, that's what Jack Albertson's doing. So spoiler alert.
I get kind of like a long form Tales from the Crypt vibe with this movie.
Yeah,
right. And again, all of those things are not things that are going to be easily tied together plot wise, right? Like with the Tales from the Crypt type of thing, you're going for a setup and a punch at the end, right? Stephen King can't finish things very well. Messiah of Evil is again atmosphere and a punch. It can't. None of those things can be consistently consistent.
They don't bother themselves with the nuance, the nuance of things at all. Yeah. They're like, I'm going to build you up to knock you down.
Yep.
And you better not think too much about what I did. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what, you fucker?
You son of a bitch.
It kind of, I think it works a little bit better plot wise than Messiah of Evil, but it sort of fails in the same ways, right?
Agree.
Yeah.
Again, atmosphere is going to smooth over a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things about this movie, just like with Messiah of Evil, that really, really works well. There are a couple of. It's kind of interesting because I could also see this movie a little bit episodic. Like, imagine if they took this movie's premise and created a serial like HBO or AMC TV show from it. Where you have like 13 episodes or whatever, 8 episodes.
It could have felt a lot like Harper's Island. Remember Harper's Island?
Oh my God. I love Harper's Island.
I loved it until the end.
Yeah.
Like we were very invested.
We were into it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this. Oh.
No, yeah. Go ahead.
I would say this kind of feels almost like a boxing match. Like you're constantly being told to look over here. Yeah. And then you get the left jab in the face.
Yeah.
Yes, constantly. Like the first scene is a perfect example of this. You're like lulled into this beachy kind of. They're on a beach.
Yeah, I know.
Beachy photo shoot.
Beachy photo.
My job is beach.
I forgot you've seen that now. Yeah.
A beachy photo shoot that is like it's all almost dreamlike, and then just people show up and murder a dude.
Yes, that the whole hazy look of this, much like what I was saying with Messiah of Evil, feels like a nightmare.
Yeah,
like it has that same kind of what they call American Nightmare kind of feel to it.
Or Canadian sheen.
Well, Canadian sheen's something different. But so let's talk about that opening scene, because that is Lisa Blunt, who is the girl in that. And now she's an Oscar winner.
Is she?
Yes, she is. She won an Oscar for producing like a short film.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Live action.
See, that's a little bit. You misdirected us there, like the film did, because I would have thought acting. The way you said it,
because she was like best new starlet or something at the Golden Globes after Officer and Gentleman, but I didn't know she won a I didn't know she won an Academy Award
Man,
for
she's a
producing.
pretty lady.
It's interesting.
She is.
What-
She's a
what-
very pretty
She
lady.
is. I love her and know her best from Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
The now she was also in an episode of Moonlighting. By the way, Moonlighting is coming to Hulu, and that is exciting.
I saw something. about
Anyway,
I have the entire set on DVD.
yeah, I've got a little thumb drive with the whole set.
Yeah.
Anyway, she kind of she is all over this movie, and she is a very important piece to this movie because first of all, you are like old Freddy and get
Yeah.
lulled into, hey, I don't know what's going on in Potters Bluff, but I am there for it. And I'll take pictures of her, and now I'm dead. Yeah.
right. It's crazy.
But
And
then
then-
she shows
and
up
then- and
again
then-
to finish the job in one of those scenes I can't watch. I can't see her stick that shit in his eye.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's really
It's
good
very
stuff.
Fulci.
Yeah,
Fulci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He likes those eyeballs.
he sure does. Also, I love the whole. She just does it right there in front of the cop too. But anyway,
Yeah. It's kind of like I know that that's probably not what Tarantino is referencing in Kill Bill with El Driver, but it's kind of a very El Driver scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Tarantino going to come up in every one of these episodes?
Probably,
this month?
probably,
Okay, awesome.
because he's probably
mean, if
referenced all of these movies at some point. Yeah,
Yeah. If you bite people's style, or not bite, that's the wrong word. If you're reverential to people, you're bound to.
homage.
Yeah.
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 So
Can I talk
anyway,
real quickly because I don't know if we'll talk much about Lisa Blount. She was Best New Star at Golden Globes, and then she made some movie I've never heard of called What Waits Below, which looks like a real bad science fiction bomb. And then she made Albert Pune's Radioactive Dreams, and then she made Diodoto's Cut and Run. Like, what the fuck? Her career went off a cliff fast.
yeah,
Like, really fast.
Have you guys
Yeah.
seen Cut and Run? By the way,
Yes,
I
I
don't want
love
to derail
it. I
this.
fucking love it.
I saw
is-
Got.
It
Yeah.
is insanity. It's great.
I need to see it now because I saw Goblin last night and they wrote the theme for that. And they played it live with the movie in the background. I was like, I gotta fucking see that movie.
It's
Michael
awesome.
Berryman and
Yep.
yeah, it looks rad.
It's
Sorry.
fantastic. In fact, I think there's a Kino release of it, and Kino has a sale right now, so you could go get it for cheap.
I'd probably do that. That is crazy though. Like she, exactly as you said, fell off a cliff. That's wild.
Uh huh. It is wild. I mean,
yeah, and then she ended up dying relatively young too.
uh-huh.
Did she fall off a cliff? That was really mean of me to say.
Yeah. No,
Yikes.
probably. Ooh, God, here we go. Idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura,
Oh.
basically low platelets.
Oh, that sucks.
So basically, if she gets a bruise, she might bleed to death, and that's what they thought happened.
Here's an
That
interesting.
sucks.
Here's an interesting tidbit. In 1987, she was in a movie called Night Flyers. 87.
Not the Night Flyer.
Not the Stephen King property. 1987 American science fiction horror film based on The Night Flyers, a 1980 novella by George R.R. Martin.
Martin
Wow.
himself co-wrote
Martin
the film.
himself co-wrote the film with Robert Jaffe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, she's been in stuff that we know. I mean, like I
I'm
know
sure
what
the
Blind
people who were
Fury
making
and-
those movies thought that could have been a hit. It wasn't. But
No, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like she did some decent stuff. I mean, because like later on, she was like in Blind Fury, Great Balls of Fire.
Great Balls of Fire, yeah. Man, Blind Fury,
Needful
that's
Things.
a fun movie.
I always like Needful Things.
Yeah.
Probably Meg
Uncredited,
Griffin was
though.
born and it ruined her career.
She
Probably.
I
Yeah.
don't know if she was ever starring. She wasn't a starring role after Prince of Darkness, so it might have been the
Because she's
last
kind
one.
of a Meg Griffin, right? Like a little bit like, in the
Like a
same
Meg,
vein.
yeah, she's exactly like Meg Griffin.
I've always
from
heard.
Family
I've always
Guy.
heard good
Meg
things,
Griffith is
weird
what I'm
things
saying.
about Out Cold.
Wait.
Either of you seen that?
Wait, hang on a second, Jason.
Melanie
Hang on.
Griffith, Meg
Wait,
Ryan.
what?
There it is.
I'm having a problem.
Sorry, Jason. I didn't mean to ignore you, but Chuck was like, his brains were falling out of his ears trying to figure out Meg Ryan's name.
That was real timing. Like, yeah, that's I remember last week I told you to think before you speak. I need to follow my own advice.
Well, I'm warmed up now. I'm like a pitcher. I'm like in my element now. You know.
Okay, Jason, I'll shut up. You go.
All I was going to say is that she's in a movie called Out Cold that I've always wanted to see, with Terry Garr, Randy
Oh
Quaid,
yeah,
and Bruce McGill. Yeah,
I remember that
John
box.
Lithgow, I think's in it too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm in for anything with John Lithgow, honestly.
All right. Well,
it looks pretty fun. But anyway,
let's get back to Dead and
back to the
Buried.
movie. Let's get back to the movie.
Yeah, roll film. So basically, go ahead. You said that you were going to talk about something else about. Oh no, I think you already did. About.
I did.
Okay. About Lisa, which is kind of funny because she's like, "That's a really pretty name." It's like,
yeah, we'll just use your name.
Yeah.
I just think that's funny when they do that.
Yeah. But anyway, so basically, yeah, she's like, she opens up her top and she's like, take a picture of this. You know, it's like, send this to your Playboy. And he's like, I'm going to do that. And then some people show up and they beat him up and then fucking light him on fire. But they fuck up. They don't kill him. They try to make it look like his car burst in the flames, but he survived. And James Ferrantino is our Sheriff Dan Gillis. He shows up and he's like, yeah, so what we got going on here? And this is when we meet all of our primary people, right? It's like Officer Gillis shows up. Undertaker.
Dobbs.
I don't know why
Dobbs.
couldn't remember that. That's like half of James Ferrantino's lines.
Yeah.
I need to tell you, Dobbs is now one of my favorite characters like ever.
Yeah, let's talk about Dobbs because he's played by Jack Albertson. Now, most people of our ilk know him from one thing.
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe couldn't walk or get out of fucking bed until that fucking golden ticket was found. That thing had magical healing powers.
Now he can hide in crypts and like do all sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah. Let's talk about
skill.
Dobbs.
Man has skill.
So he's the town coroner. He loves classical music. He loves to arrive in style, like his arrival at that his arrival at that burned car scene. Like it's amazing. This movie is amazing because I questioned having not remembered half of it. This being my first like pure watch of the film. I waffled on whether he was a bad guy or not, which is kind of astounding.
But that's good
Like
though,
now
right?
in retrospect, yes, but like they tell you so many times.
Sure.
But I was still like, no, I love this guy.
guy. By the way, real quick, before we move too far beyond Freddy here, who gets his ass handed to him, Jason, you know this is somebody we've talked about, right?
What are you talking about?
He's Max
Freddy.
Waxman in To Live and Die in L.A. Christopher Allport, the guy who's killed at the beginning.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Wait, didn't I talk about that too?
Did you? What did you talk about that?
No, I didn't. Never mind. LA Confidential is what I was.
Oh yeah,
didn't
Your,
come
on
back
your,
to.
your brain bleed. Yeah.
Yeah, my brain is like is destroying itself right now.
It's like caving in on itself.
But there's a little more subterfuge here, like another pulled hand kind of technique while Dobbs is coming in. It's all stuff. Like fun and like you're kind of laughing with the movie, and then he lays down on the towel to take a look at the body, and he just fucking screams like this burnt face. Fucking, that's scary. Like at this point in the movie, I'm like, this is my favorite thing ever. Like this movie begins so well.
Yes, this is a wonderful, open up,
Yes.
to the story because it sets the tone that the town is weird.
Yeah,
it has all of the visual atmosphere of the kind of the foggy, kind of misty,
great effects.
Yep, it's got great makeup. It's got our two primary characters, our cop and our mortician. And both of them are very much what you would expect to see in small towns, right? Like the mortician is kind of a weird, silly old man. Like he kind of seems to.
He's quirky.
He's quirky and he's kind of irreverent too, right? When it comes to like bodies and stuff. And then the cop knows everybody. Like the sheriff he's the town sheriff. He knows everybody. And so he has rapport with people. And then Freddy Krueger shows up.
Yeah, he does.
And then Robert Englund shows up because Freddy Krueger is the burn guy.
Yeah, I was with you. The townspeople burned him. That's the beginning of Nightmare on Elm Street, right there.
Yep.
They just got it all mixed up.
But yeah, no, this is a masterclass in setup.
Agree.
Particularly for your horror film.
Yeah, I think this is the best the movie gets, unfortunately for me, but I still like it.
That's fair. I mean, I like this movie a lot too, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, and this probably is the best part is the first act.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
I think we have two Jasons on the screen.
Yeah, so. I know. It's like
one of them will go away. I had to rejoin. I lost the connection.
So anyway. I was just saying the first act is the best this movie got for me. Honestly, like I like the whole thing, but the first act is like the best part.
Yeah, and I agree with that, Jason. What are your thoughts on this opening?
I agree. It to me, the big giveaway is the thing that they keep doing with the pictures, because you've got the killers always taking pictures, right? And then you've got
the killers, you should say
killers, right? And then you've got Dobbs always yelling about having bodies that he can recreate, and what do they call it? Reconstruct.
Yeah, he's always talking in very
clearly
kind of.
They're taking pictures so that he knows how to restore them back to like what they look like.
Yeah,
to me, like I figured this out way earlier the first time I watched it, but I still enjoyed the ride. Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's. There is this because Dobbs is very what's the word I'm looking for? He's kind of ghoulish, right? Like in the way he talks about dead people, because they always at one point Gillis goes in and sees him at the mortuary, and he's like kind of asking him questions about how he does things, or he's talking about like, putting makeup on people. And he's like, it's like, that's what a hooker would do on her, last time being seen or whatever.
Right. It's so fucking obvious what he's doing. And it makes me question how I kept questioning whether he was the bad guy.
Well, is that where most of your frustration comes from?
The final punch of the movie, which I won't say yet. I didn't really see coming until like the last 10 minutes, right?
Yeah,
like I saw
because it doesn't make fucking sense
until much later, right? It doesn't make a ton of sense. I know.
Well, I think they do try to pave over that a little bit with a line that Dobbs says that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Fucking sense.
We'll get there.
It almost ruins the movie, like for real. But go ahead. Let's get through it, because there's good stuff here. Lots of good stuff here.
Yeah. So we find out this like, the guy who was beat up and burned is he's not dead. That's no good. So it's like, okay, well, we need to it's like, so now Gillis is like, well, we need to figure out who this person is, what's going on here, and why would anybody do this? And this is the first real like mention of his wife. And he, Janet, who's Melody Anderson, he's like, trying to figure out, it's like, okay, what is this, what is this guy what's his identity? Where, he's obviously an outsider because we don't recognize, it's like there's nobody missing from the town. There's nothing wrong with the, it's like the car seems to be from out of town. And the hotel guy is like, oh yeah, your wife came over here and visited him. And it sounds so like you know, like, oh, he's got a wife that might be cheating on him. But it's like, that's not it at all. It's like, it's such a misdirection with that, too.
Well, I have a theory about that, but yeah.
Well, go ahead. What's your theory on it?
I can't give the theory yet unless we're talking about the end of the movie, right? Like,
That's kind of the frustrating thing for me with this movie is everything with his wife, because they keep throwing like a reason why she's doing something nefarious, and then somebody else, then she kind of has a good excuse, and then another character says, "Well, that's not true." Blah blah blah.
Well, yeah, because that's exactly what happens here. Because she's like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. I'm buying camera stuff for the school. She's a teacher." And then
right.
so
and then
so he's like,
then the principal says, "Well, that's bullshit," you know?
Right. And then he just kind of is like, "Okay."
And then later she's like, "Well, that was supposed to be a surprise," and he just keeps buying it, right? But then there's this whole thing with the film, where she wants him to develop the film, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take it," you know, and she's really adamant about it. But yet what's on the film is seemingly not something that they would want him to see. But then also he realizes it's like key to everything, because he's like really wants to see the film because he mistrusts his wife. But why would it be so a crucial piece of evidence if your wife wants you to get it developed? And so it's just like this weird misdirection, and to the point of like nothing makes sense, but the movie still kind of works enough to where it's fun to see what's going to happen next.
It works in nightmare logic, right? Nothing makes sense, but
it
plays out.
Nightmare logic for sure.
It's not even nightmare logic, though. All of that stuff is logical to a point, right? But we can't talk about it yet until we get to the end.
Well, we can. I mean, we can
work backwards. I mean,
we make the rules here. Yeah.
Okay,
it's our fucking show.
All right.
Fucking Dobbs isn't telling us what to do here.
I just feel like we're only going to talk for 10 more minutes if we get
No. We can. Well, okay. So let's hit the beats, and then because the last act is where all of the discussion of this movie really is, right? Because like we can only say so much how much we like the look of this film, the setting of this film, the people in this. I mean, I think everybody is fantastic in this movie. Mm-hmm. To the point where it's like, I really do feel bad that most of Melody Anderson's career was making not so good movies, because she's good in this, even though you can have a lot of frustrations about her character. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, like the guy who gets burned starts the whole mystery for Gillis. Gillis then says,
Gillis has never seen him, which is important.
Right. He's never seen him. He doesn't know anything about this guy. So he wants to find out who this guy is. He goes and he finds out he's a photographer, but there's nothing with his name in his room, in his hotel room. That's when the hotel guy says, your wife knows who this guy is. She came here and visited him yesterday.
Right.
So then he goes home and he says, you know, what's the story about, you know, this guy? What do you know about him? Because he's all burned up in the hospital. And she's like, well, I was buying photographic materials for my class from him.
Right.
He's like, okay. And she even gives a name. He then goes to the principal, to the school. I think he wants to see his wife again, but for whatever reason he can't. And he talks to the principal, and the principal's like, yeah, no, that's not. He's like, could it be a purchase that you weren't aware of? He's like, that's impossible.
He's checking her at this point. Honestly, yes. Not he wants to see her. He's checking her story.
Right. And so he's like, huh, okay. So then in the in-between time, Halloween 3 style, old wino gets killed.
Great scene.
Yes. Another good scene where the people basically corner him again and take pictures of him, and he gets killed. I can't remember exactly how he gets killed.
He gets held from behind and then stabbed with like a spear or something. Yeah.
That's right, because he's around the boats. He's like a drunken sailor.
Yes. Don't tell me about boats, Jeff.
Right. So that's now 2 deaths. And but Gillis, you can tell that this is a really sleepy little town because he's completely and totally out of his depths here. It does not seem like he has any capability of solving these.
But he has a theory that George Leroy was murdered. Yes. And the death of the second guy cements his belief.
Yes.
Right? He doesn't know for sure, but it cements his belief.
Right. Yeah. So now he's got 2 deaths. Now, George Leroy was also killed right in front of him because he goes to the hospital. It's like, I need to talk to this guy. And the doctor's like, well,
let's go in the hallway and have a little chat.
Yeah, we're going to have a chat. Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to hear them talk about how I don't have lips.
He doesn't have lips, but he does have ears.
Exactly. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's be a little sensitive to what's going on. While they're outside, we see a woman coming down the hallway and was like, oh, that sure looks like Lisa because she has that very 50s hairstyle, right?
It feels kind of Exorcist 3 almost.
A little bit. Yeah. And so she goes into the room and she's got a giant ass needle, like a comically large needle. And she's like,
Acme. It's like an Acme needle. Yeah.
Right. I'm surprised it doesn't say Acme on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's like, hey, Freddie, I'm glad that you're feeling better. We're going to fix you right up. And she stabs him in the eye and kills him.
Yeah.
And at which point all the alarms and stuff go off and she just walks out and like Gillis and the doctor are like, holy shit, this is bad. And he's like, well, obviously there's a fucking needle sticking out of his eye. He's been killed too. So he knows for sure that
he definitely knows for sure.
Definitely knows that Leroy was murdered.
Yeah, I was saying murdered earlier, right? I meant
attempted murder, then murder. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you got to get your practice in. If you're going to be a serial murderer, you got to get your practice in.
For sure.
And so then you come back and you finish the job on the first one. Yeah. Then, okay. So now we find out he does end up going to the school and he hears his wife, Melody Anderson, talking about witchcraft and spooky stuff. And she does the spooky hands thing. It's like, well, must be Halloween time because of spooky hand season.
I want to back you up real quick because there's that family that comes in from out of town and is
was that before or after? That's why I was getting to them.
That little kid is in the classroom.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so that adds another question.
Yeah, there's so many questions.
Right.
But this scene is so great, and this is where I think I entered the movie the first time I watched it.
This is a really good scene.
Family rolls into town. We're already kind of hinted at the fact that not even hinted. We know something fucking nefarious is going on here. They walk into the diner, and all of the people that we've seen kill somebody are there.
Yeah.
Except for one back that's turned to you like the whole scene until the very end. And I can't remember her name, Midge. Midge is like, Freddie, go pump gas for them. And then it's George Leroy from Freddie George Leroy. And I'm like, holy shit, he's still fucking alive. Not alive, but where the fuck did he come from?
Right.
Yeah.
And they have like this. Sure.
Go ahead. I'll ask the question.
I love how creepy the diner waitress is. The one who lights Freddy on fire.
Midge.
Is that Midge? Yeah, she's really good in that scene.
Yeah, she's great in every scene. Somehow
true. She's creepy. Yeah, something about her hairstyle and her fake charm is really unsettling.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she very good casting for a role that doesn't do a lot really, but every time she appears, you're like, ooh.
When she makes pretty much her scene. When she makes that small town hospitality comment, it's like, oh damn.
Yes.
Damn. You're just evil.
Yes. But they have a perfect storm of events to get them to go to this empty house, right? Like, how does that fucking happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they swerve off the road, which then causes them to get into an accident, which then causes them to basically be at that house.
Well, it's possible Freddy just fucked with the car, right?
I guess, but in reality, Freddy walked in front of the car and they swerved and hit the telephone pole.
That's true. Yeah.
And this, I mean, they use it all to great effect. Like when they go in the house, it's creepy as shit. You have the false jump scare of the father coming up from the basement. They wanted to have
a spooky house scene.
Yeah. And then all the people, all these townspeople are very quiet. Their dead skin cells make them like impossible to hear, because all of a sudden they're just all there, which is like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but it's fucking
they're
scary.
very good at creeping.
Well, there is some good shadows and silhouettes in the window.
Yes, there are. Sometimes you're looking at the windows, you're like, that's going to move, and it doesn't. You're like, is that a person? And it's not. And then something you don't think is a person is. Like, it's good shit. It's really good shit.
Well, that's what reminds me of like all of those paintings and stuff inside the house in Messiah of Evil.
Messiah of Evil? Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. The family ends up semi-escaping, right? They get out of the house, they try to drive off, and then someone jumps on the windshield. I can't remember what actually ends, like if they run out of gas or how they get caught. The girl's in the back seat. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You got it.
No, because they kick the girl in the back seat out and then drive off. So I'm not sure.
I don't think that they actually definitively show them get killed, because it's not until
the car is pulled out.
Until Robert Englund pulls the car out of the ocean.
Don't we see the kid in the classroom before that?
Not
Isn't
before. It can't be before because these people are strangers.
Yeah.
The people who get killed that we see in this movie are all outsiders.
Yeah.
No, I know, but the kid ends up in the classroom like immediately.
Right, that's after.
That's after.
It can be after, but it doesn't matter.
After the reveal.
Yeah. Okay.
It's after the reveal that they're dead. Yeah.
I mean, I assume they were dead anyway, but I'm with you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, at first we think, because there's a misdirection here too, right? Because what happens? Well, Gillis happens to be in the area. They see the car go flying by. Or he sees the car going flying by. And he's like, "Oh shit, what's going on here?" And so he's going to go chase it, and he hits somebody.
Yeah,
and his Frankenstein arm falls off.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know who that is he hit, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Who is it?
He's the coroner's assistant.
Oh, yeah. The kid.
Because he's painting his arm later.
Yeah.
And when he shows up at the coroner's office, he's like, "What are you doing?" And he looks at the.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
they don't tell you overtly, but it's pretty obvious.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So then, it's the
Charlie.
kid.
I can't remember his name. Jeff. Might be Quarb. Jimmy. It was Jimmy.
Yes.
That's what I wrote down.
Jimmy the pot dealer.
Yeah, Jimmy the pot dealer. That's
but he's always dressed like he's fucking Archie. Like he's like, it's weird. You're right, Chuck. This is very 50s styled.
Yes.
But it makes a lot of sense later though, right? Because, and I have a really crazy like read on this movie that I just thought about
Trapped
yesterday.
in Time.
No, that you can read this. It's not going for it at all, but you can read it as basically poisonous nostalgia. That all of, he's bringing back all of these people in a style that he grew up or that he was fond of, right? He's always playing the same song. He's always, like he styles them in a very 50s way. Even some of the lines that he makes Melody Anderson say sound like she's a housewife, even though she's not. It's all that kind of, he is trapped in time.
Well, I mean, that definitely like lends itself to my read of this as a 50s movie.
Yep.
In the 70s via the 80s or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's not the real intention of the movie, but it is something that we see a lot of these days, right? So it's like I picked up on that. It's like Dobbs is just recreating a different time in his life.
Well, I think this movie, I can say this without giving up all of my problems with it, suffers that all of which is around it that is informing it isn't apparent enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Because there is, I mean, like I said, I had a lot of questions too at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it would be nice if he had like that speech at the end where he explained his reasoning or what. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I have too many questions to be satisfied with the lack of information we're given or the lack of explanation we're given on some things.
Yeah. Yeah, so right. So now we've gotten to the point where it's like we have that really great right in the middle scene, right? With the family being hunted by the town. Because also there's a really great backlit shot of the town encroaching on them, you know. That's another, you know, really great shot.
Or the porch shot when the light goes really blaring on the porch. It's like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then so now Gillis goes to see Janet, and he's hearing her talk about these witchcraft things
to the classroom.
The classroom, and that she's talking about how does somebody control somebody who's been brought back from the dead, you know, their heart and everything. Later he ends up finding a book of witchcraft in her nightstand. Seems like that was probably left.
He found that earlier, to be fair.
Was it earlier than this?
Yeah.
Okay.
When he was looking for his shells after he
That's right, because she's like, when were you at the beach? It's like the whole fucking town's a beach.
So this scene is confirming for him that he cannot trust his wife after he found her book of witchcraft.
Right. And then he hears
she's
her
like,
talking
I'm having
about
the
it.
class, but it sounds too real.
Yeah.
In the scene. It's not like a teaching moment. It's like it's fucking weird. Yeah.
Exactly. Because she does say kids like spooky things or whatever she says.
But she didn't teach it like she's teaching a class.
No. She's talking about it like this is how college graduates would talk about this sort of
not
stuff.
6-year-old kids or 8-year-old
or whatever they are.
Yeah.
It's like this goes beyond like, yeah, I like me some spooky stuff too, but I wouldn't be expecting to hear it in this detail.
I'm not going to tell you they cut out their fucking heart and keep it somewhere to
exactly.
a 6-year-old kid.
Right, exactly. I mean,
so this is where this movie is kind of
get this out of the classroom too. That and whatever the fucking other thing is.
This is where this movie is kind of expert, right? And why I think I had a problem believing Dobbs was the bad guy all the time is because I really believed it was Melody a lot. But I'd go back and forth. It's like,
well, she is a spooky chick.
She feels like the driving force behind everything.
Yes.
90% of the time.
She's hardly ever on screen with Gillis.
Right. And she's always got something to do.
Exactly. And it's not telling us, but our brain bits are picking up on the fact that it's like something's not right with her.
Yeah.
Where does she go? What is she doing? Why is she not here? Why is she talking like this?
Yeah.
Why would she assume that he's talking about seashells when he's a fucking cop with a rifle over there? You know, it's like it's all that weird stuff. It's like it's so it's so weird that it sets you as the viewer off kilter.
Right.
And it only drowns you more into that nightmare kind of feel, right?
Yeah.
So, would it surprise you that this is one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite movies?
It would not.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not even a little.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of like the skin cracking and stuff that showed up in Kronos when he was starting to turn to stone. Yeah.
Huh.
Any more important bits to hit? Because I really want to talk about that coroner construction scene. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, so that's
that's my favorite scene in the movie. Yeah,
let's get there.
Jason, tell us about that scene.
Well, wait, let's set it up here real quick. We have a hitchhiker out who gets picked up, and the guy's like, "Are you sure you want?" And he's like, "This part too is also creepy." It's like, "Are you sure you want to ride with me? For all you know, I could be a killer or whatever." You know, and she's like, "Yeah, whatever, okay." You know. The back of his truck has a smashed out window.
Yep.
Which makes me think that this guy, that was part of his death.
It's not, because he is the ship guy.
Yeah, I know. But when I first saw
gotcha.
that,
Sorry.
when I first saw that, I was like, this guy was pulled out of the back of his truck, or
Right.
whatever, and killed. But no, you're right. It's the ship guy. He's been sobered up.
Right.
But yeah, she gets it bad. Like they cave her head in.
Yeah.
Like it's a brutal. It is by far and away the most brutal scene.
All the more of a challenge for
and that's
our
exactly right.
antagonist. Yeah.
I don't know. The burning alive is pretty fucking brutal, but
yeah,
Yeah.
but this one just feels like
The crushed
we see
skull.
it. Yeah, it's like we get in on this.
I guess if you're visceral, maybe
Yeah.
this one. Brutal,
Yeah.
the early one for me, but
Sure.
yeah.
I don't know. I just don't want my head caved in.
I mean, at least you'll die fucking immediately.
That's true. Yeah, because the one guy that didn't have any lips and he survived
Yeah.
to get a needle in his face.
Sorry, I'm belaboring this. Continue, please. My bad.
Oh no, I don't know. We're at.
She gets her head caved in. She is brought to.
Well, she's the one that
Dobbs.
they do the great shot
Yes.
of getting
Yeah.
reconstructed. Yeah.
Because again, Gillis finds her. Because he uncovers her, and we see like her all smashed in head. And then
Yeah, and for some reason, like he spends time working on her, even though he's complained earlier about not being paid to do reconstructions on other people.
Right,
Well,
it's a
I-
travesty.
'cause we don't know
It's a
that he's-
travesty that he has to bury his work, or he has to have closed caskets.
Right.
but I
Right.
think some of that is misdirection.
And we
for
don't know
Gillis.
that he's a
is.
bad guy yet.
Yeah.
And we don't know that he's a bad guy yet. So why are we seeing him do the reconstruction work? That's confusing.
Yeah. Fair.
It's confusing.
I have major problems with this movie for a lot of those reasons, but we'll get to them later.
So
But the way they
make for a
build,
beautiful scene because they do like the classic melting skull in time lapse shot, right?
But in reverse.
in
But
reverse,
in reverse, yeah. He breaks her down, and then he builds her back up.
Yeah.
And it's all in time lapse, and it's really cool. Yeah.
the when he puts the eyeball in, I'm like, holy shit! How did they do that? Like, it looks real. Her face does not look like there's any change to it at all. And
Well,
it looks
and
like
he's
it's her
like-
sitting there.
He's like using like a little instrument
Yeah.
to pull up her eyelids. So it's like
Uh-huh.
if she's really doing that, she is a champ. Like
Or it was a dead body, or it was sheep loins.
maybe
Not loins, intestines.
Sheep bits.
Melting brain over there.
Yeah. Chuck is struggling. We gotta sprint to the end here, or he's just gonna be going like blah 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 blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Anyway, this is a really cool scene. I think we should probably also say this movie was on the Video Nasties list. It didn't
Oh,
deserve
yeah.
to be there.
Yeah.
I
it's
think the
bizarre
only
that it
reason
is.
why it is that old hag that fucking led to everything somewhere along the way heard that this had something to do with witchcraft. And I'm sorry, let's just throw the UK into the garbage.
At least the Video Nasties era UK, for sure.
Well, there's some it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, you've lived in America.
Let's throw
you've lived-
Turf Island away.
We've been here too, so we could do a lot of throwing away, Jeff, if
Fair
we're
enough.
going to go that route.
No, but it's one of those movies that it's like this was on the video. It's like it's so obvious that the people who made those lists didn't watch these movies and
Definitely.
only heard what the movies were about. And it's like, oh, it's got to be, it's satanic. Garbage, I say, garbage. Throw it in the garbage.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's pretty benign.
It's weak sauce. It's weak sauce to say this is a
Weak
video
sauce.
nasty.
So when Dobbs does the reconstruction, he walks out of the room and the door closes behind him. and a shadowy figure. We don't know who it is. Assume it's Melody, right? I think is what you're thinking at this point. Comes in, kind of pets the hitchhiker's head, and she sits up, and
that's a pretty good. That's again a kind of a very Exorcist 3 feeling jump scare, right?
Well, yeah, and if I'm thinking about it correctly, it's one shot. It's one shot from him playing with the eyeball.
All the way.
I don't think there's a cut.
I don't think there's a cut. Yeah, it's just it is set on her profile. Yeah.
Right. So whatever he's doing with her face is actually happening.
Maybe.
I don't know, unless there's
either that or it's really clever. It's really cleverly done.
Yeah. Because I was kind of astonished by that. Jason, were you going to say something?
No, I disagree. I don't know how the hell they did it.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So she walks out, which leads to Dobbs showing up at the sheriff's office the next day and basically saying, "I lost a body."
Yeah.
Right?
And Gillis is like, "What are you talking about?" They'll just get up and walk away.
Right.
It's also important that Gillis got a piece of that skin from his front grill and has the doctor looking at it. And
that, I think, might be resolved at this point, too. We're kind of jumping around.
It might be. Basically what he finds out from that is that it's dead tissue. It couldn't have possibly have been from somebody who was alive when you hit them. That it must have, somebody was working on his car, giving him a tune-up, and it scraped his knuckles, and that's what is there. That's what he picked up.
But when the doctor goes in to reinvestigate it, that's when the townspeople show up again. And this time they kill
melt
him
his face.
Yeah, with acid down his nose holes.
Yeah. Ooh, talk about
that looks really cool. There's really good practical effects in this movie.
There really
are.
Because you know what I really like about that kill scene is that you see the bubbling up on his forehead. Most movies would have had it squirt out, but it doesn't. It just bubbles up and kind of oozes, but
and then deflates down his nose.
Through his nose. Yeah. So it's more realistic, I guess.
I don't know. I've never seen acid go into somebody's nose.
I mean, the last time I was around something like that, I turned away. So,
jeez, guys, you know who did the makeup effects on this?
Tom Savini?
No, someone better. Stan Winston.
Oh yeah.
Oh, fucking Stan Winston.
Yeah, he's good. He's
pretty good.
He's pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know that, but yeah. Wow.
Stan Winston just kind of suddenly just kind of shows up,
Fucking Stan Winston.
It's like, wow, I'm watching a movie. It's like, oh, look, Stan Winston.
Like a fart in the wind. Stan Winston. All right. I don't even know what that means.
I don't either. I don't.
That's great. I don't know what it means,
like
but it made me laugh.
In the wind, Stan Winston. Put that on a t-shirt.
And then go meet Stan Winston.
Jeff, put that on a t-shirt. All right. So the doctor becomes one of the infected. I don't even know what you want to call them. Zombies, whatever.
They're not really zombies, though, are they? Like, they kind of are. Like, in a way, they're kind of like voodoo zombies, right?
Voodoo zombies. Let's just go with that.
But not really. Like, because they're only playing out certain things, right? Like, they're not like Melody Anderson's always talking about what's for dinner tonight or whatever. It's like
they are programmed.
Yeah, it's like it's very limited what he can do with them. Dobbs. Very limited what Dobbs can do with them. Anyway, we're at the end now, so let's do it.
Yeah, let's get to the end. So there was this thing that Gillis read earlier about people needing to die violent deaths. And then they could be controlled if you held their heart in a certain place or whatever. Okay. Good. We're good here, right?
We're good here.
We're good here.
And he does find one person's heart because he gets a telegraph saying, or a teletype that says, this guy, the first guy, is missing. He's from St. Louis.
George Leroy
is missing. And so he says, okay,
Dig 'em
let's
up.
find out if this is the guy. And they do, and they find out that it is. And so he's like, also, Betty, do you mind finding out from New Hampshire about Dobbs? And so he finds out that, yes, George Leroy is the guy. And so he goes and he wants to dig him up. By the way, Dobbs sleeps in in one of the places where you store the bodies.
The crypt thing.
Whatever.
It's not a crypt thing.
It's a fridge, basically.
I think he was hiding from him, but yeah.
Might have been, but I don't know. I like to think he was sleeping in there. Well, he certainly will be going forward. But anyway, so he has the groundskeeper or the gravedigger,
the groundskeeper Willie, baseball field.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
It's like, hey, we need to open this shit up. And he's like, I only bury him, I don't dig him up. He's like, well, you're gonna dig him up.
I'll take full responsibility. And then they find a heart in the casket.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't need help doing this or whatever. And he's like, no, you don't need help because it's not heavy enough to have a body. And that's when he finds the heart. That's another good shot. And it looks like a real, like probably some sheep's heart.
Yeah. Sheep intestines acting as a heart.
Yeah. Awful.
So yeah, this confirms the whole voodoo bullshit that's going on. And like you were stating earlier, we do find out from those telegrams or whatever the hell they're called that Dobbs in 1969 or 79?
69, because he moved to Potters Bluff in 70.
Yeah, in 1969 was excommunicated, and that's not the word they use, that's the word I'm going to use.
His license was revoked in New Hampshire.
Why are you laughing so hard? Did I use
because
a
he's
way
Catholic.
wrong word there?
He's been excommunicated from the Catholic Church for his crimes against dead bodies.
I mean, he would have been, right?
Probably.
I use words sometimes and I don't know what they mean. He's been kicked out of Philadelphia. You said Philadelphia, right?
No, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. I thought he was in New Hampshire now. Where is he now?
No, I'm feeling like Potters Bluff is like Rhode Island or something.
Okay.
It's somewhere.
Whatever. He got kicked out of that place.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I had it backwards. Formerly the chief pathologist in Providence, Rhode Island, and is now wherever Potters Bluff is. So anyway.
All right. So he's taken his body defiling techniques to Potters Bluff.
Yeah.
And he has been having people killed violently to take their hearts and animate them. We find out the first of which is Gillis's wife, Melody.
Janet.
She's the crown jewel, or damn it, Janet. She's the crown jewel, right?
Right. Because she's the one who is the most lifelike of all of them.
Yes.
Now, apparently, he just kind of cut corners for the rest of the town. Because
how do you get your
multiplicity
right on the first one? And then,
exactly.
Yeah, it's like multiplicity. They all just keep getting dumber, right?
I was wondering that. Like, why did you keep going if you got a perfect the first time?
I get the feeling that she wasn't. I thought she was just his masterpiece, not the first one, just his masterpiece.
He said first.
It's a house of Cosby's.
It's a
house.
Each one is
oh my God, Melody Anderson and Melody Anderson do not go into the house of Cosby's.
But we had seen the video earlier, which showed her killing someone. Right?
Yes, that was on the film that she wanted him to get developed. And
then she comes in the room and she's like, "Bury me, I'm dead," and whatever kind of weird revelation.
No. She says, no. She comes in to say the exact same thing about dinner that she said the other night.
But ultimately it ends in her saying, "Bury me."
Well, he shoots her, and then she stumbles off into George Leroy's exhumed grave. And that's where she's like, "Hey, you got to bury me, man. This is not.
She said it in the room too, but it doesn't really matter.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I guess that much.
So she didn't know that she was dead. Do you think that she was part of this scheme? She was just programmed.
None
to
of
be
them
his-
know.
None
None
of
of them
them
knew
know
they
that.
were robots.
That's true, but that's true. They were all just told what to do. Yeah,
This
Yeah.
is a
Right.
little bit like
they all
this-
had their plan. They're all part in the plan.
I think we need Tom Atkins to go in there and figure the shit out.
So
Oh my God,
anyway,
he would just blow everything up.
Gillis
He just
goes
shoot
out to
everything up with a shotgun.
Gillis goes out and buries her, right? In this really kind of sad, sweet
Yeah,
scene.
it's a good scene. It's a good scene.
Sad, sweet scene for sure. And then the townspeople come and like kind of console him. And when you would
And
expect
Lisa
it-
says something really important. He's like, you should be happy for her. It's almost like she realizes that Janet has been released. Like she really
Yeah.
did die.
Yeah,
And it's like maybe they all want to die,
yeah.
but they can't quite put it together.
I don't fucking know, but it doesn't make sense. If we assume they don't know, which is what we should assume, then they shouldn't have sympathy for the other people. If they have
But
to be
maybe-
told what to do,
But maybe there's
They can't-
something deep
There's-
inside them.
That's what I'm.
There's
it's
some
like a
part
soul.
of them that can't really present itself, but
There's-
that they still feel. that
It's like their
coming out in
soul
that
or
moment.
whatever. It's like
Yeah.
you can't
That's too
control the
much.
soul. Well,
that's
yeah,
too
I know.
much. Your soul would leave when you died.
Okay,
You wouldn't
But
stick
that- but
around with your fucking dead body. Like,
Chuck
come
is
on.
not having it, man.
No,
Um,
not with this movie, because the whole plan. All right, I'm going to tell you. Gillis goes back into the room.
Okay.
He finds out he was the one who was killed by his wife. Right? In the
Uh-huh.
video.
Yes.
So he is dead as well.
Yes. And his hands are starting to crackle.
So this motherfucker, Dobbs, has been programming this cop to investigate murders in the town, all for the sole purpose of Gillis killing him at the end so he can become one of his own disciples. Well, where the
Yes.
fuck is he hiding his heart, and who is controlling him now?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It's so fucking stupid.
I
mean,
agree.
No, I'm guessing that there's another spell in the magic book.
No, there's
you
not.
know who else agrees with you, Chuck,
Who?
about this? Dan O'Bannon, because
Really?
apparently he says he says he didn't write this script. That
What?
That Shusett wrote it and needed his name on it to get it made, which I find to be probably not true. Why would he need?
Dubious.
I find that dubious because Dan O'Bannon's name would not have lent, I don't think, that much more.
No.
Because
No, and
Shusett
there's-
was
and
already
there's-
on Alien.
The Writers Guild is not going to go for that shit either.
I
I'm
agree. I
pretty
don't think it's
sure.
going to go for that. I think the whole thing is bullshit. But this is what he says.
I think he
Now
just
we'll
didn't
quote.
like the movie.
Well, let's hear what he said.
Yes, I agree. But this is what he says. He says, all Ronald Shusett needed was my name to get it off the ground. I knew the script needed work, and he promised he would deal with it and not make anything I would be embarrassed about. I trusted his taste, and with grave misgivings, accepted the $10,000 fee. When I saw it, I realized he hadn't changed one word of the original script I had read, and I hated it. But as he pointed out, I couldn't take my name off of it. In print, I can though, and I want my views on the subject on record. So I don't know.
I don't know. That's all dubious to me.
It feels dubious as well, and I don't know. I wanted to do this movie regardless because I thought it's interesting, but we could have done Invasion from Mars. I guess could have been the other one.
Well,
Invade-
We could have subbed it out for
Man, but
a
Invaders
movie I
from
do
Mars
think
isn't.
he's proud of.
Yeah, but that. But let's. Okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to
When
get
it
it out
comes-
there.
when-
We're doing a
yeah.
Dan O'Bannon month. We're touting this as a Dan O'Bannon month. I should probably give
Well,
you
we
the
can-
man's words on his feelings of the movie that he supposedly
For
wrote.
sure.
And I'm telling you that I think he just didn't like it.
I think
And
that was my first instinct as well. Was that
Yeah.
maybe it didn't go over so well, so he was trying to run from it. Yep.
You know who also didn't like this movie?
Who?
Gene Siskel.
No.
hideously gruesome thriller.
Hideously then that's great. That's great. Every
Yeah, I know,
movie of
right?
this ilk would love to have those words come out of Gene Siskel's mouth.
Exactly, and it was one of his dogs of the week when it showed on the sneak previews.
Oh, boo.
So I want
Yeah.
to clarify though, real quick. I like this movie. I enjoyed this movie. It's just dumb as shit when you think about it.
Yeah.
It makes
I mean, it
doesn't
absolutely
make sense.
zero sense.
No, it's not one that you can ponder for too long, because then you're like, wait a minute.
I mean,
don't
I
know.
pondered it while I was watching it, and I was like, wait a minute, like every 5 minutes. But I still enjoy the ambiance, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I would
I let the
encourage-
atmosphere take me away.
I would encourage our listeners and the both of you to go to stanwinstonschool.com and read about how the effects were achieved in this movie, specifically the reconstruction scene, because it is fucking genius. It's amazing what he did. I mean, it's basically a life cast, and it looks so good. And then a lot of puppetry and a lot of tricky camera angles to the hands and the eye and everything. It's astounding.
I'm definitely going to look that up because that blew me away while I was watching this.
Yeah, I mean, Ronald Schusert even says in this piece, he's like, the effect is startling because of the way it's filmed. It's impossible to tell how it was done. It's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, we just went through it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You're right. You did an amazing job, Stan Winston. Congrats. It's
Hideously
phenomenal.
gruesome.
Hideously gruesome. That's the stuff that irks me about Siskel specifically, but him and Ebert back in the day, because they couldn't see the value in some of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
They just discounted the whole thing and couldn't talk about the things that were really amazing artistry on display. Yeah.
Yeah. Siskel particularly was anti-horror.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of times where they would surprise you.
Sure.
You know, they both like, speaking of Guillermo del Toro, they both like Mimic, even though Guillermo del Toro doesn't.
I don't even like Mimic.
I actually, the only version that you can actually get now on disc is the director's cut, and it's actually not that bad of a movie. It's very
Not
of
that
its
bad.
time.
Director's
Not
cut
that
is again a dubious thing to put on that, because I don't think that he was able to shoot a lot of what he wanted to shoot, and I don't think a lot of the footage he wanted to incorporate back in existed.
Well, but he did finally get his last cut, though. I mean, from what he did have. So
Yeah, but I like that's another movie that has a lot of atmosphere.
yeah,
And a
It works.
lot of cool like effects, but yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. But that's not his fault.
right. They also both liked.
I'm sure they both like
Critters.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, they did
Not
like-
initially. Not initially. Ebert changed his opinion later. But Silence of the Lambs and Unforgiven went down in history as the only time that Best Pictures were disliked initially by them on their show.
Damn.
Interesting.
And they were back-to-back years, too.
They had bad years.
well-
A couple bad years for those fellers.
Yeah, you know. But Ebert later did end up starting, especially once he started working with Roper, started really kind of getting, like, understanding a little bit better, like, what goes into some of that sort of stuff. You know, so it's like,
It only
Anyway.
took 30 years.
yeah, but they're from, I mean, yeah, and it's like I said before, it's like they came from a very different time, and even though they weren't conservatives, they were living in a conservative mindset, where if it's not highbrow comedy or drama, they're not gonna like it. And this might be highbrow horror in some ways.
Hey, I'm of the opinion that a critic should not bend to the time that they're in and just like what they like. But
Well,
who am I?
Lens, man.
yeah, that's the way things are.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know what else. What else do we want to say? I mean, I think this movie is very well shot. I think the movie is very well acted. I think the movie is very well presented. Yeah, there are. It's an imperfect movie, but kind of in its imperfectness is its charm.
It's fun. I enjoy the
Chuck does not agree with me.
the atmosphere. I do try to just turn my brain off and not think too hard.
I think whenever somebody says it's fun, that's what that means, right? You have to turn your brain off and watch it.
Bit. Yep.
Yeah.
But yes, it's fun. I will agree. It's fun.
And I think that's where I'm saying, like in its imperfection is where its charm is that because I try not to think. I mean, you can't help but to ask some questions in that final act, but at the same time, it's like I'm enjoying this ride regardless. Well,
I don't want to belabor this, but if you put a book in with rules, then you're going to make me think about those rules. Sorry.
No, that's fair.
But that's all. We can move on. What's next week on this Dan O'Bannon month?
We're gonna go overseas for Life Force.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Toby
a lot of naked lady.
So much
naked lady.
Like more than one lady, or just
one lady? Just one lady naked the whole time.
Yes.
Pretty much.
I've never seen this. I've never seen this.
I'm curious to think what you think, because this movie has a not great reputation, but I think both Jason and I like this movie a lot.
I really like this movie a lot. Yeah.
It's a really, I think it's a good example of mid-'80s science fiction, if that makes sense. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, let's talk about it next week.
We shall.
Yeah, so that is next Wednesday. That is October 18th, right here at filmseizure.com. That's where you can also find all of our past shows. You can also find out where you can follow us, where you can listen to us, where you can subscribe, well, all that stuff. It is also the home of Monster Mondays, my show that is also celebrating spooky times. And guess what, guys? This is number 250.
Whoa.
Insanity.
I know, insanity, right? 250 episodes of Monster Mondays, and there was only one movie that I thought, with Halloween, I was looking at more modern stuff. I was looking at inspiration or things that inspired later movies. So inspirational in that regard. Can you guys guess what movie I picked for number 250?
Halloween Ends.
No.
I know. I can't guess. I couldn't possibly.
I mean, it should be kind of in the zeitgeist again right now with its new,
it's Godzilla
all of a sudden,
something, right?
It's gotta be Exorcist.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exorcist.
Oh.
Yeah, it had to be number 250. It's a little too important not to be. So yeah,
I'm bad at that game of picking.
That's fine, but Jason got it. Anyway, so yeah, The Exorcist is this Monday, October 16th for Monster Mondays. We're recording this a little early, so I haven't decided yet if I've done a review of the new Exorcist movie, but I have seen it by now. Anyway,
hilarious.
but I will talk about the original Exorcist on the 16th. Also, this upcoming Friday the 13th at B Movie Enema. It's Friday the 13th. It's the day that the one particular guy needs to get a lot of attention, and that guy is Leatherface, of course. So I have a review of Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, one of the biggest surprises of my life.
It's so much fun.
I fucking love that movie.
It's so much fun. It's my third favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
It's my second favorite.
You like it better than 2?
Yes.
Oh, I can't like it better than 2, but
it's just a smidgen above.
It nips at its heels.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I really like this movie, and it gets stupid by the end, and I love it. Anyway, so that's this Friday at bmovieenema.com. So next week we got Space Vampires. By the way, Chuck, that's what Life Force is about.
Thank you.
I mean, that's literally the novel it's based on. It's called Space Vampires. Yeah.
So anyway, until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am like a fart in the wind.
Yes.
And I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.